Today is March 7th of 2023, and I got my exhaust hose in, my wet exhaust hose in. Here's the length of straight stuff, not intended to be bent. Can't curve this stuff much. That'll be used as connection points between fiberglass tube and and the pipe or other fiberglass tubes. Here is the water lift muffler, and I think the position where it's going to have to go. And there you can see I cut a piece of flexible tube or hose to connect from the manifold down to the exhaust lift. And this stuff, of course, is flexible. I ordered 6 feet of this flexible and 4 feet of the standard. I don't know what's going to happen here other than this is going to have to come up above the water line, about 9 inches above the water line, or 9 inches above the the exhaust outlet, which is going to be slightly above the water line. So it's not the greatest deal because we got the plumbing up here for the fuel filter and whatnot. Now, wet exhaust can run relatively close to, these aren't actually active fuel lines here, but it wouldn't matter if they were, because you only need like 2 inches of separation between this wet exhaust hose and fuel system components, so that shouldn't be an issue. But we're going to have to come up somehow, and then come up and then loop back up down into the cross piece, into the T that goes to the outlets on either side of the boat. So I'm not sure how that's going to exactly work. Yeah, it's going to get in the way no matter what we do, and it almost has to either come out, or I guess we could use some of the flexible hose and come over this way a little bit and then run it out and down. Yeah, I don't know. As long as it's going upright and it's more or less, going up until the point where it gets to the gooseneck or whatever, where it has to go back down into the cross piece. Shouldn't really matter, but I'm not going to have enough of this stuff. I only ordered 6 feet, so I only got a little over, right at 4 feet left, because this piece here was 24 inches. So, that works fine. I suppose I could go straight up for a little ways, and then with straight tube, or pipe, or hose. God, I can't. Hose. Wet exhaust hose. So I could go up a little ways, and then put a little bit of a bend in it. Put a coupler in and put a bend in that comes up and down over here then. It kind of comes up at a little bit of an angle and then comes down. But then that starts using up room in front of my other fuel filter, which has to go over here somewhere, which could go up higher. It doesn't. It's a smaller fuel filter. It's the filter that goes to the main engine. So that could go up high, which probably wouldn't interfere with anything I do over here. But yeah, I had to put the water lift down here. I was hoping I could just set it up here on the deck. I could set it just right straight behind this thing almost. But they want a foot drop between the injection point and the top of the muffler of the water lift. Not exactly sure why you need a foot there. I've been trying to reason that through, and I don't know why you need a foot there. It wouldn't have anything to do with drainage when you shut the engine off. Maybe they're worried about water backing up into the engine. Give you a little more. It's the only thing I can think of there, I guess, is maybe they want to try to prevent water backing up the engine. But with the North Sea exhaust, with the exhaust going out either side, you're never going to have, like on a conventional boat with the exhaust coming out of the transom, if you're backing down in seas, or just backing down period, backing down hard especially, you can force water up into the exhaust system, and you can get back up in here. Now, with a water lift muffler in a raised, the chances of that are slim, but that's of course why you do it. And maybe that's the theory there, is to help prevent any water, if the water gets momentarily pressurized, from pushing up into the engine. I don't think I'd have that problem on a North Sea exhaust. And was it David Guerra's book? I think it was Guerra's book, yeah. That talked about the North Sea exhaust system in a fair amount of detail. He did not mention having to have this 12 inches, but when he talked just about wet exhaust in general, he did. So I figured better safe than sorry. Put it low. Then I've got 42 inches from the bottom of the muffler down there. 42 inches coming up this way. It's supposed to be your maximum, but then you need to have this 9 inches above, and you're supposed to have the exhaust tapered a little bit down. Again, I don't know if that's going to matter so much in a North Sea exhaust system where you got dual pipes and one's always going to be open, because if a wave hits one side of the boat, it's not going to be hitting the other side, so you'll have one side for the exhaust to go out. So, I don't know, I suppose you want them sloping down just a little bit, but, so this is going to be, exhaust systems on boats are, it's difficult. It really is. And the wet exhaust with the water lift muffler makes it the easiest. Now, if I was just running it, a short distance back out the transom, this would be relatively easy. You just keep the pipe, have the pipe go up and then have it drop down to the transom the whole way. But, and I've seen people that don't have it dropping the whole way either. I've seen people that have the pipe or the hose up and down and whatnot. You're not supposed to do that. But I have seen a lot of boats where that's what winds up happening. So I really debated. I thought I wanted a dry exhaust until I started getting into the details of a dry exhaust. Had I not gone with water injection here, this whole thing would have had to have been lagged all the way up to the ceiling, and then it takes a big box. I think it's like 10 or 12 inches clearance you need between the pipe and the inside wall where the exhaust pipe goes up and out. So you need this big stack going all the way through the boat. You're talking probably 16 or 18 inch, wide box or tube, whatever, goes all the way up to surround the exhaust pipe. Then it needs ventilation ducts to draw air in from the bottom, and then it has to come out the top. And yeah, it's not. And then you need flexible bellows down here where it connects to the engine, and those are not only expensive but prone to breaking. So yeah, I decided against the dry exhaust and went with the wet exhaust. The wet exhaust is also quieter, which is going to be a good thing. But yeah, I got to get things worked out in here. And this coming up in goosenecking and then down into the cross pipe is a problem. If I could just run it to the cross pipe, that would be much simpler, but much simpler. But creating a gooseneck in there, I don't know how necessary that is either, to be honest with you. That was something David talked about, Guerra talked about too, that if you can avoid having the gooseneck in there, that's best. But I've never seen one of these without a gooseneck in there. I suppose the risk there is water could flood in. If you get big waves hitting the side of the boat, it could push water into the... it would still have to go up as high as what it went up. But I suppose the potential is there to... And that gooseneck takes that potential out for water to fill up and then drain back down into this muffler, and then fill the muffler full of water. And then it could start creeping up this way towards the engine. Yeah, I guess we better come up with some plan for a gooseneck. Maybe I'll just make it out of fiberglass. Make the whole thing out of fiberglass. That would be kind of spiffy, wouldn't it? I don't know what I'd use as a mandrel, though. If I could find a big block of foam and carve it out and then lay up the glass and... Yeah, well, anyway, no sense in sitting here talking forever on camera. So we'll have to see about that. But that's what I've been working on up here. And downstairs, I've been working on making a box to mount to the wall here so that I can mount some of my breaker panels to. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want to cut through that wall. Well, of course, you really don't have access back there with the fuel tanks, or you wouldn't be able to get back there anyway. So I need some sort of access to wire the circuit breakers. Both the AC and the DC breaker box are going to go back there. So I've been making a box to mount to the wall. That I can mount those components in. And I got a bunch more electronic stuff ordered. But see, here's the box. I think it's going to be about 3 inches, 3¼ inches deep. And that will allow me to put a hinge on one side. And then I can mount this in there, because see, that's, you know, like 3 inches depth there. But I'll be able to hinge it. This will be the cover. That's the inside of the cover, actually. Here's the box. Yeah, that's 3 inches there. And we got just a little bit more under here, another ½ inch. So that should be 3½ inches in there. And then we'll have this hinged on the side. Sorry about that. We'll have this hinged along the side here, so that this can open up and give you access to the wires on the back side of those fuse blocks, breaker panels, whatever you want to call them. Then on the inside here, we'll have places to mount probably a few bus bars, that sort of thing. But I would like to get more of the wiring done, at least basic wiring, some of the wiring pulled through here. Well, I still got the bottom accessible, which I should have for a while yet. For wiring, even with the build stringers in, I can run those wires through there yet. But at some point this summer, we're going to be planking the bottom, and then that'll be the end of any access in here. Still need to find some lead. I've called a couple places and haven't had any luck finding scrap lead. I'd still like to get 1,000, 1,500 pounds so lead down in here underneath these areas that will be totally inaccessible. Get at least some ballast in there, and then I can finish ballasting it once it goes in the water. But yeah, so that's where we stand today, and we got a week's worth of crappy weather on the way. I'm talking 7 to 9 inches of snow this week. So what's melted is going to come back again, unfortunately. All right, that'll be my update for today.